Hi, Swami. Very good afternoon because it's recorded in the afternoon. And
Good afternoon.
Sama Audit welcomes all of you for yet another episode, exciting episode, where we have one of the best speakers today in the form of Swami. Sama Audit and my relationship with Sama Audit goes a long way. I'm Satish Shenoy and Dibji Singhal. We have known each other for so many years. And I think between the three of us, including Swami, we've known each other professionally for the last so many years. So Sama Audit has decided to bring in this series. So we conceptualized this program, and we're going to bring you a series of such short videos, which will be something for us to take away. Each episode, I'm sure there will be something for each one of us to take away. Yeah, Dibji.
So it is chief internal auditors, CFOs, regulators, eminent personalities who will grace, who will come here, who will support us, give their time and speak out, in this free series. So the entire internal audit fraternity will benefit. The students, the professionals, everybody will benefit because it has been a journey, a big journey for all these eminent personalities, and they are at the top of their profession now. Absolutely. And when they are there, there's such a lot to learn. So there will be a lot of takeaways. People can learn more by listening to such eminent personalities, professionals, rather than reading books. What you can get takeaways by listening to the good practices, best practices which are shared, is much more valuable than even reading a book.
Perfect. So Dibji said that Swami is at the head of the profession. I'll tell you, at the top of the profession. So I'll just explain how far top he is in the profession. So Swami is presently the head of corporate audit and assurance function at Godrej Industries Ltd and all its associated companies. The business operations of Godrej is very diversified. I mean, some of the businesses I'm sure all of us know, but there will be some surprises as well. It ranges from chemicals, FMCG, property development, housing finance, agri inputs, food processing, and right up to retail. Geographically, the businesses operates across three major continents of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. The role of internal audit in the Godrej Group, an Indian conglomerate, is not only complex, but quite challenging. Swami, as all of us know him and as he's popularly called, is associated with the Godrej Group for over 30 years, 3 decades in internal audit, 30 years, and has risen from the ranks to head the function over the last 10 years. Godrej, of course, is in very, very safe hands. He reports to Mr. Firozshah Godrej, and with Swami, the combination is lethal. He has a team of around 40 professionals and experienced auditors. Swami is a Bachelor of Commerce from Mumbai University, a cost accountant. Oh, I didn't know this one. And holds a master degree in management from the SP Jain Institute of Management. He's also a CIA from IIA USA and a CISA from ISACA USA. He's also an associate member of the Institute of Fraud Examiners of USA. Swami specializes in risk, controls, and compliance management, fraud risk management, information technology, and security risks, and other specialized audits, and consistently adds value to the Godrej Group through his internal audit services. Swami is a member of several professional bodies, chief audit executive forums, and consultative committees of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. He's a speaker at many professional forums on the subject of internal audit, risk and compliance, fraud risk, IT, and related topics. It's always a pleasure to meet Swami, and I had the benefit of visiting his office a number of times, sometimes for official advice, sometimes on personal advice as well. And I've always got the right direction from him, and I've immensely benefited from being associated with Swami personally. And professionally, I think he has helped many professionals by virtue of his work and deeds and talks. So we have a very, very interesting speaker here in this episode. And Swami, we have just all years, including the speaker years, waiting to listen to you. Dipji, you may like to add just a small
No,
line?
I think Swaminathan ji, as you said, rightly said, Swami to both of us, we have all worked together. We have all, spoken together at a number of conferences and, worked in the internal audit fraternity for the last 30 years. So that's over to you, Swami. I think I did not say anything more, there's...
Okay, thank you, Deepji, and thank you, Satish, for this wonderful opportunity. It is always a pleasure to connect with the fraternity and to share thoughts, ideas, and to learn from each other. Progress through sharing has always been our motto, and I think our audit systems and teams are doing a wonderful job in terms of propagating internal audit to the nook and corners of the world and attracting more and more talent as we go along. Right. So thank you for this. I have a small PPT here just to keep the discussion a little more focused. So from that perspective, this PPT is being shared. Okay, I hope you are all able to see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah. So our function is called Corporate Audit and Assurance Function. We provide services to the entire Godrej Group. And as Satish in his introductory comment talked about, we have a variety here. So we have right from property development to retail to financial services to FMCG to agri inputs, agri plantation, you name it, and we have got it. And therefore, the whole audit becomes very complicated. I start my day with one business and I don't know when I end my day with what business. So it becomes so complicated. Each has a different set of risks, each has a different set of complication. Each has a perspective which is different from the other. But we've tried to put all this over a period of so many years experience in this industry. So we know what our stakeholders' expectations are. And we have, if you look at it, we've developed an audit process, a system, which probably you will find it unique, not very contemporary in internal audit circles, but you will find it meeting a certain theme. So let me start with the message from our chairman. And, our group represents quality, integrity, and trust. And these are three pillars. Whatever we do falls under these three pillars. And therefore, it is very important for us. And integrity is a core. Trust is a very core ethos of our group. And therefore, one of the expectations that Mr. Godrej has always kept is that we must, as internal audit, ensure no surprises to the business. And our whole activity, whatever we do, is this two words which provides us impetus to what we do and why we do. So we are a function we have established over 50 years. I report into the chairman. We participate through the audit committees, represent through all the management committees, and provide all services to all the companies in the group. If you think, Deepji, Satish, you need to intervene at any stage, please feel free to intervene, just to explain or clarify any point that you may have. We are also one of the few ISO certified internal audit functions. The ISO helps us to keep us, within a process. Our strengths about 38 plus, we have almost 40 people now. We specialize in risk management, compliance, distribution, information security, investigations, safety, so all of them, wherever there is a risk, anything to do with risk, and we are there from that perspective. We are spread across Mumbai. We are at international locations across the globe, 3 continents. We are into Latin America. We are into North America. We are probably into almost 16 countries in Africa now, as we speak. The presentation is slightly dated. Therefore, we are present in 16 countries in Africa. Our services spread to the promoters, statutory auditors, management, shareholders, audit committee. So we are all our stakeholders where we provide our services. This is our whole framework. So we have business level risk assessment, control assessment, IT information security, fraud risk, safety, health, environmental control. ESG is a big issue, big activity now. You know, the Godrej Group spends a lot of money into environment. Our holding company is into a trust which manages mangroves. So we have a lot of spends towards ESG. Statutory compliances, all that gets reviewed by the risk committee, by the CEO, CFO, and functional heads. There is an independent review by the statutory auditors. This is also reviewed by the risk committee. And the overarching platform for ensuring all this is a very strong analytics platform. We have a dedicated 4-member team churning out data day in and day out, 24/7 across the globe. And when we go through a few more slides, you will see that our whole backbone is through analytics. If you look at our theme starts with no surprises. If you look at the classic defense model, you will find us closer to the first line of defense. That's because we want to ensure no surprises. We are present just not in internal audit. We are into internal controls, drawing up SOPs. So if you look at the way we are structured, each of our processes, each of our activity is documented through a well-documented SOP. From the SOPs, our internal controls flow. From the internal controls, we have a software which tracks these internal controls. This internal control becomes the backbone, the basis for our internal audit. Now, the internal controls are divided into manual level of control, automated level of control. Apart from that, we also build a lot of hypotheses on which we build our analytics platform. So that's how the whole audit process functions. Then we get into risk. I am the CRO, CISO, and the Chief Whistleblowing Officer for the group. So I manage I facilitate the whole risk discussion. Statutory compliance is another very big project with us. It is not a part of legal, it is a part of audit. We have a tracker mechanism. I track nationally, internationally, almost 1,000+ laws of each land. And we have a tracker, we monitor it regularly because the chairman wants us to ensure we don't violate the law of any land, not only India. Anywhere we operate, you will be surprised that we are one of the major corporates where we have a very good compliance program, even in countries like Africa. So there are partners who are supporting us. Like, for example, EY is supporting us in Africa. There are other partners who are supporting us in various other countries. But we have a very strong compliance program. We have a strong internal control program. We have a very strong risk management program. So when you look at risks, we have food safety and physical safety audits are a very important aspect of our audits because saving lives is the core. The chairman wants no lives lost because of safety violations. No food eaten by any of our consumer should have any quality issues, any safety issue. So food quality audits are a very important part of our audit process. Okay, reputation risk is a part of our audit process. We check all the online reputation programs to make sure that our online reputation is managed, is happening properly. So that's where we proactively get involved. I am also the CISO of the group. So IT information security related controls are a part of our checking process. We check cyber security, we check ITGC, we check SAP, conflict of interest. So you name it and we are there. So our whole objective is no surprises. So this is very important for me to give you this brief because this is where we come in, and therefore you will technically people argue that you getting into other than internal audit. You are getting into a line of defense which is beyond you. Yes, we are beyond just doing traditional internal audits because we can't be fence sitters. I can't come in after 6 months and say something has gone wrong. I have to prevent things from going wrong. That's where my role comes in. If you look at outsourcing, this is very important because many people ask this question. How are you managing with all in-house resources? Why don't you outsource? So we do outsource. So if you look at my whole spectrum, all routine checks, regular check, transaction level checks are through automated data, automated checks. All process monitoring is through in-house capabilities. Where we do not have domain knowledge, IT, information security, risk, that is where we get outsourced. Or the EYs, KPMGs, PwCs, specialists in the field come in and help us out. So we have left, so there it is a win-win for me. If I get an expert like Dipji to come in, I do not want him to look at vouching because I am wasting his talent and my talent. But if I get him into an area which is a domain expertise, then he also is happy to support and I am also happy to get experts supporting me. So it is a win-win for all of us. That's how our whole outsourcing program goes. As I said, this is our business process and control. We draw up authorities. Now you will say, why are you drawing up authorities? Because I know the process. I understand the process of the company better. This is how each of my process looks. Every process is documented. Every control is documented. Who is responsible? How is it responsible? What is the SAP control here? So manual control, automated control comes in here. From here, my internal control document is generated. So the process level risks are identified. Process level, sub-process level risks are identified. The process is documented. The controls are documented. The authorization matrix and SOD conflicts are documented. And that gets into my internal control software. That is how the internal control assessment happens. The ICOFAR, we started when SOX was implemented in the US. That is the time we implemented SOX in India. So, you know, so even ICOFAR came in, it was not new to us. We had already had financial control documented, operational control documented. So today I have all the controls documented, just not the ICOFAR. Now we are doing an extensive control self-assessment. Each control is mapped to a control owner. The control owner updates the control and uploads proof of compliance. And my team just goes and checks at random to say whether the control is operating. And during the statutory audit check on ICOFAR, I just hand over the software to the statutory auditor and they pick up sample from there and check. That's how my ICOFAR program runs today. The IT systems, wherever there are automated controls, we have automated all the controls in SAP. So I just run a program and the automated controls from SAP comes in through my analytics and through ACL. So I know all the automated controls are checked. So we have an access control matrix. We do ITGC, we do SOD conflicts, we do a configuration check. Of course, we use outsourced agencies who come in and do it, but we regularly do this and update our risk registers. Okay. Information security risk, any new technology implemented, any new program implemented. So right from beginning, we are involved. So we will get involved right at the conceptualization. So the controls are built in at the time of implementation of the software. Be it an SAP implementation, be it a new software that is bought, everywhere we would have got involved right at the beginning. So that the controls are built in. We can come in not as an implementation partner, we come in as a control specialist. So after implementing, if I say 100 controls have failed, there is no point because I have to redo the whole exercise again. Therefore, we come in at the time of implementation so that clearly we know that the controls are built in the system. Access controls are built in. Access rights are properly given. So we come in at all those stages. Fraud risk assessments. So we have a zero tolerance on fraud. Mr. Godrej, we have a Godrej way of doing things, and right from Mr. Godrej and all the CEOs, they spend a lot of time in explaining to all the people our way of doing things, which is trust, integrity, and there is no compromise on that. So we run an ethical dilemma workshop very regularly to all new joinees, to all people regularly. Our ethics code of conduct is clearly explained so that people who violate, we have zero tolerance. We say we don't want to work with you if we have found anything. If you look at it, last 30 years that I am with the company, we have not had very, very big frauds. And that's because we have been able to catch the fraud very early when it happens. It's not that frauds can be eliminated, but when it happens, how soon am I able to catch it? That's critical for me. So we have a good amount of mechanisms to check. Today also I clock almost 50%, and that's an internet. If you look at all the surveys done by all the big firms, only 10% of the frauds are detected by internal audit. 90% is through whistleblower mechanisms. I have a tracker which says 50% is generated through internal audit. Consistently year on year. 50% is coming through internal audit. 50% through whistleblower mechanism and management request. Okay, that's how we track, and that's because of our strong control on processes. Even people, you say I have a very strong whistleblower mechanism, but people prefer to call me up and tell me that I have a doubt here. They don't want to go through the whistleblower mechanism. They personally call us, write to us. So they have trust in what we do. If you look at my data, there's some very, very interesting data that I present to my board, where we say named complaints, not anonymous, named complaints. The people are comfortable writing their names and saying, look, I doubt this. You know, so that's how the trust in the system is very high. Yeah. Safety, environmental health, ESG and safety, both are very, very critical for us. Today also, all our CSR spends are audited. We do even program management spends. We are checking today at the ground level whether the effectiveness of the spend is there or not. 100%. I go even to farthest of locations where this program is being implemented. We have a Salonai program where we train young girls in the rural areas on beautician courses. We go and check whether they are really receiving the kits, they are receiving training, their certification is proper, are they benefited from the program, have they got livelihood because of these training programs. We check. Because that's very critical for us. That's very core to us. We want to ensure that the money spent is getting the beneficiaries really benefited from the program. Our environment program, where we do reforestation programs or water conservation programs, we go and check whether that program is effective or not. How much water table is improved or not. What are the monitoring mechanisms? So we do a lot of work there. Of course, we have engaged Deloitte here to do a detailed check. They will also do. We also go and check. So wherever we have outsourced, we have definitely we work very closely with our outsourced partner. It is not that I have handed over some audit to them and they have forgotten about it. So we work very closely. We have monitoring mechanisms to check whether they are really doing their job. We have regular meetings, interactions with them to get what we want. So that's very critical for any outsourcing program. As I said, our statutory compliance program. In India, I track 400 plus laws, including municipal laws. I am probably one of the real estate companies, and real estate is very difficult in terms of statutory compliance. You go to any of my sites and you will find right from labor law compliances, we comply with everything under the law. We are not seen as people who violate the law. And that's very critical for us. If you go to Africa, you will find most corporations don't keep violating the law, but we don't violate any law. If we have to import, we pay proper duty and take it, even if it means that we earn little less, but for our statutory compliance is core to our very existence of our business in any country, be it Indonesia, be it North America, be it Latin America, be it South Africa. We have implemented strong controls, processes, and compliance programs. As I said, we are involved in the risk assessment program. I am the facilitator to the risk management. We engage experts here who do a deep dive. Once we do a risk assessment, every quarter, we take one area and do a proper deep dive. I run a monthly magazine called Risk Watch, which I send it to all my CEOs and CFOs every month, where we track all the developments across the globe and also map it to my group. What is it impacting at my group level? And how does it impact? And what is the financial implication? And whether it is likely to turn into a high risk, a medium risk, or a low risk. And then I bring it to the risk committee. That's how the whole developments are mapped. Any development, whether it is social, political, economical, everything financial, regulatory, on the pestle barometer, every news is tracked. And from there, we map to say what can turn into a risk in the coming future. And that's how we build risk. We identify proactively the risk and also build mitigation plans. This is how our risks get categorized. Just to give you a picture of how we track the risk on a heat map. As I said, we have a very strong continuous monitoring program, 1,000+ exceptions on an ongoing basis across the globe. We use Tableau, we use ACL, we use SQL, and we use several other tools available where we track all the processes. We have a very strong JV analytics program where every quarter I monitor all the JVs across all SAP to say whether there are any outliers, because that's a big risk for us. If there is any entry which is passed, we don't know somebody has passed an entry. So we track that. Complete data check is happening across 4 people, 24/7 monitoring data across the globe. Business continuity, disaster recovery plans, consultancy on important IT-related investments, cost saving and profit enhancement recommendations, and we represent through all the forums. Before I end, I just wanted to show you one more slide on. We are moving to a best-in-class function. Most of the points Satish and Deepji, we represent the professional bodies, active member of the IA, HOCA, fraud, risk management forums. I am also representing IRM now, the UK-based risk management group. I am also on the Financial Consultative Committee of the CII. So we are kind of advising the government on all the corporate governance matters. Peer interaction with various forums, like I'm interacting with you and learning from you and your experts here. Several recognitions. Most Ethical Award Business Group Award in 2017. Best in Class IA Function 2018. Excellence in Corporate Governance 2018. ICICI Risk Manager Award 2020. Golden Peacock Award 2021. And several IA awards, due to space constraints, I've not put them, but several IA awards that we have got recognizing our efforts. This all gives us a lot of happiness that we have been able to, in a small way, contribute towards the profession and also take care of our stakeholders. That's all from my side. Happy to take any questions that you have.
Swami, we can all see the expense, the type of work which is being carried out. We will talk about that later. There are specifically two questions, to you. We all know that Godrej Industries is recognized as one of the most ethical, industries in the world, company in the world, per se, where they have a lot of, they believe in ethics, they believe in human capital, so I think that's recognized. There are two questions to you. You talked about being the CRO, CISO, and capturing risk from the bottom to the top, bringing it out and then quantifying it and bringing it to the top. So the first question is that we would like to know more about the risk watch. How do you make that newsletter, and how does risk flow from the bottom to the top? Because it's one of the most difficult things a person can do, especially when you're spread across so many geographies and so many countries. That's number one. And number two is, we talked about implementation of the whistleblower policy. So does your department run the whistleblower function, or is it separately run but monitored by a department and implemented by a department? So maybe you can throw light on these two aspects, please.
Yeah. So what we do is, we have tied up with an agency for our risk watch, which provides us. So we have told them these are the geographies that we are present, and they give us what are all the developments that are happening in that geography. Based on that, what we have done is, in each of the companies, we have identified the strategy team as a SPOC. So I have my risk manager here who coordinates with the strategy team, and he brings these issues to them, and then they discuss with the respective stakeholders. And from that, see, all news items cannot become a risk, but those are news items which can potentially turn into a risk. Okay. Then we deep dive, and then we say, okay, then we talk to the respective countries, we talk to the country heads. Okay. And based on their assessment of that situation, how much impact, we'll have to quantify. I just can't say this will become a risk. Then the leadership team will say, what will be the extent of risk? Say, for example, if there is an election coming in one of the countries in Africa, or the country will get into some kind of a lockdown for about 15-20 days. The news collector will tell me there is a potential risk, 15-20 days, the country might get into a lockdown, or some kind of a, they get into, the elections become, very chaotic there. There could be warlike situations, there could be lockdowns, there could be strikes, there could be, social anger, whatever. So 15-20 days, my supply chain could be disrupted. If that is what I'm picking up from the ground, I will then talk to the country head and say, look, the elections are coming. Are you prepared for your stock? They'll say, yes, we are building up stocks. How much are you building up? So are you prepared in an eventuality that if the country gets into a month lockdown, then are you prepared for an eventuality? They'll say, yes, we are ramping up production. Then I put that into my risk watch to say, the country is getting to election. We've already plugged this risk in, or the country management may say, no, I have not, but I will ramp up my production in the next 8 days. So, I will bring that up. Then we put in, if it is going to be extending beyond, just one minute. If it is likely to extend beyond 3 months, then it is a watch point that I need to monitor. So that's how it gets into the risk watch. And from the risk watch, it gets into the risk committee in the quarter. And from there, it gets into monitoring through the risk committee. That's how the bottoms up happens. So it's an involved process.
Great. So I think that then you would be taking in terms of the operational risk as well as the strategic risk, right?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Okay.
The second point on whistleblower. So the HR does the ethics code of conduct trainings to people. We coordinate with HR to do the COC trainings and ethical dilemma workshops. The whistleblower mechanism is run by us, and the reports come to me and the members of the audit committee, and then I take it forward and I maintain a tracker.
Okay. Great. So basically it's managed by the internal department.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Satish, no, unmute yourself. Satish.
Yeah. So sorry, I first want to make a statement. You said no surprises. We also had a lot of expectations from this program, and there's no surprise for us at all. The program is, very lot of things, lot of learnings, no doubt about it. So that's the first thing I thought I should call out. Swami, we always see that you do something in your work and you always seem to be ahead of your times. I'll give you one example, a very quick one. I remember once traveling with you in the car to, going for some meeting in South Bombay or for whatever. And, that time the RERA Act had just come up, for the real estate. And I too had a company, a RERA company. And when I was talking to you, the way you started talking about RERA and all its provisions and all its implications, blah, 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 I was actually sinking in the seat, and then I probably put my chest out just to make myself feel more confident. But I had a real surprise that day that here's this guy actually, I've been knowing so much about RERA, and I also should have been doing it. So it was my limitation. But you always seem to be ahead of the clock. So what keeps you ticking?
So any new development, whether it is compliance, so these are all very close to our hearts. We cannot be seen as somebody whom after the law is implemented, we suddenly realize that we are not there. Then we get into a non-compliance zone. And that's something that the chairman does not want. So that tone at the top is very critical for us. And that's what keeps us ticking.
Yeah,
great. Swami, when we talk about no surprises and with all the things which is required to be done, your team members or your representatives, even in terms of outsourced agencies, have to be on the ground, because there are so many countries, so many geography, and you have to be with the people around because there's so much of things happening on the ground. Otherwise, we cannot ensure no surprises. So in this last 2-3 COVID period, how has that changed? Has it impacted the way you work? Has it diluted some of the things, which were set as a function, as a whole? So how you cope with that?
Okay. So we have feet on the ground in all the countries. So even today, in each of the country in Africa, I have an audit representative stationed there. So physically, though I have not been able to travel in the last 1.5 years internationally, domestically, of course, we have been traveling for the last 6-8 months, we have been traveling. But internationally, that's why our data analytics is very strong. Today, it is run centrally here. And we provide inputs to the ground level audit team. And then they go and check. So physical checking of document is done at the ground level, but centrally monitored here. So, we keep running that. So one of the team member also does, the time also is set in such a way that they match with the local time. So that we are in tune with what is happening. The analytics team member for Indonesia starts work at 7 o'clock in the morning and ends it at 3 India time. So because they have to be in sync with the Indonesian time. Similarly, the US time, they start, US Latin America, one of the members starts at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and goes up to 11 o'clock at night. So that's how we have staggered our times to match with the local times. Otherwise, it's difficult for us to manage.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Otherwise, there will be a 24-hour delay. Their audit work gets affected.
Sure.
So, Swami, you mentioned that, from the third line, you have now more or less come to the near first line.
Yes.
So, just explain to us about that process. I mean, as briefly as you can.
If you say I have to ensure no surprises, and I be on the third line, and this is the dilemma that we always had. If I am on let us say for a moment, I am the third line of defense, then I can't ensure no surprises. Because then I have to be reactive and cannot be proactive. If I have to be proactive, I have to move away from my third line of defense and come to the second line of defense. Between the second line of defense and the first line of defense, there is a very thin gap. Sometimes you have to own responsibility. See, probably what happens is we all as auditors initially get offended when business says, what were you doing? But I have lived through times where business says, look, you are also one of the gatekeepers. You cannot take a view that you have no responsibility and business has all the responsibility. If things go wrong, and it does, you see, when I say no surprise, it's not that there has never been any surprise. There will always be surprises. But the question is, how soon are you able to detect and how much are you able to minimize the loss?
Okay.
So I have to be one step ahead of the game. To that extent, I have to also, let's take the example of RERA. If I were to leave it just to legal to implement a RERA program, it would never have happened on time. When I put my pressure and say, this is how the mechanism works, this is how the, the software has to be developed, this is how all the data, all approvals have to be recorded, because tomorrow I am committing externally that my building, my construction, as per this plan, will be developed by this time. It's an external commitment. It's a document which is publicly available. It becomes a Godrej commitment. Now, if then tomorrow somebody can go to the court and say, you committed that you will hand over the property on this date, you have not handed over. So it becomes a non-compliance. Tomorrow there will be a RERA case against me.
I just feel I was sitting in the car because you said exactly the same statement you made that time, which actually made me feel, go sink into the chair.
So then I have to put my front foot up to say, yes, let's work together. So then I move from the third line to the near first line. I obviously can't be the first line, but I am closer to the first line.
Great.
I think really great, Swami. Let me, Satish and Swamiji, if you permit, then I'll quickly conclude.
Yeah.
I think we have taken a 45 minutes of time, Swamiji. So one is, I think learning or the message is very clear to professionals and internal auditors across. First of all, if you look at different elements, it's not only process reviews, it's legal compliance, whistleblowing policy, implementation of whistleblowing policy, risk watch, risk management, business continuity plans, information security controls, and of course cost reduction, cost optimization, we may call it, to be acceptable across. So, there's such a lot of things to be done, but what comes out very clearly is that moving from the third line of defense to the near first line of defense, to be actually helping out, to be making the SOPs, to be reviewing it, to be looking at the internal controls, to be proactive and not think that audit is only a post-mortem job. It's only you need to just sit back and do audit. It's not that. You have to get integrated with the functions. You have to integrate and work across the geography. You have to work with top management, with middle management at the ground level to ensure that you deliver solutions. You actually ensure no surprises. So for that, there has to be a lot of commitment in actually immersing yourself in all the things that are carried out in the organization. So it is not that, auditor just sits back and does audit, pure audit, it is just checks. It is actually getting involved with a whole lot of things if you really want to excel. So what is coming out is being proactive and then you can achieve what you need to achieve to be at the top. So I think, Satish, would like to add anything?
It was a wonderful afternoon, Swami, and really thank you for taking out your time. And as always, you look so calm and composed, despite that your plate, overflowing with activities and buzzing around and things buzzing around you. And so wonderful. I had a very nice learning session, and I'm sure our audiences of Summer Audit of this webinar is going to really take away a lot of.
I just wanted to conclude by saying, see, challenges are ever growing. See, Godrej went into housing finance, and it was the first time that we were getting into from a brick and mortar business to fintech and BFSI segment. And I clearly didn't have any clue. Today, you will look at the way we have done work in the housing finance business in terms of our compliance program, our control program, the board is absolutely thrilled the way we've done it.
Very good.
So, so they are quite happy. The startup doing such an extent to ensure, because that's why I say the tone at the top is what is our the energy that we get.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thank you very much. Keep
Wonderful.
it up, Swami. Thank
Yeah,
you very
all
much.
the
Thanks
best
a
to
lot.
you.
All the best.
All the best. All
Thank
the
you.
best. All the best. Bye. 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 Good.